We're going to bring Dr. Greg up, and he's going to be able to speak into all of our lives. And I believe he's got such a powerful story and such a passion for God and a passion for marriages. I thought this is a very unique opportunity to be able to let someone else speak in something into our lives that maybe we're not seeing on our own. And so can we welcome Dr. Greg and just give him a big, huge round of applause as he comes up, bring the word.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Well, people have been asking, how'd you get to know Chris? And just kind of give a background there. We're from Temple, and I counsel both out of my house and out of an office in Harker Heights. And a couple that I was working with, basically she knew Chris, and she did this, texting introduction saying, oh my gosh, you guys got to get connected. So Chris and I literally just talked last Thursday. And he knew the couple, and he says, well, impeccable timing. I'm doing a marriage thing next weekend. And so then Friday, I said, well, let's get together. Then Friday, he and the staff came up to Colleen, and my wife and I went over and saw the ministry in Colleen, which, hey, Colleen, it's a phenomenal, phenomenal ministry. And immediately, because I was actually in the ministry for 15 years in Michigan. I was a youth pastor, associate pastor, then senior pastor for 6 years. And the ministry that we had in there was very, very similar to the ministry that you guys have. And then just in conversation, pastors can talk, really fast with each other. And as you imagine how fast Chris talks, we got to know each other really quick. And and I'll try and talk more slowly, but I can't. I'm going to speed up too. Just by the fact of I told Chris that understanding how churches approach theology and their theology idea of God plays out into their ministry. Everything, because I left the ministry in 2010, it was a phenomenal experience, but I had some things to work out theologically and philosophically. And where I've landed is right where Chris is theologically and philosophically. And it's not common, let me say it that way, because, I'm going to just, obviously, because I agree with him, he gets it. Where my biggest frustration coming, because I was at a Bible church, my biggest frustration is there's a realm of Christianity that one thing I'm nervous about in Christianity is they have a form of godliness but deny its power. And on the other hand, there's still the reality of engaging people where they are and engaging in them on a cognitive basis, engaging them on a, look, me too, I get where you're coming from. I've got issues, you've got issues, we've all got issues, and being real with people. So I cannot, you already know this, but I just want to validate and emphasize the fact that the ministry that you guys have going here is phenomenal. And stick around because you guys are going to do phenomenal things for God. And I'm more than happy. I'm so grateful to God. As I was talking to my wife, as partnering with Chris and with you guys to continue the work of changing people's lives, because that's what it is about, okay? So amen. So thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to just spending a few minutes with you. Now, what I want you to do is we're going to have our own kind of version of the newlywed game, okay? So guys, I want you to grab that pad of paper and a pen. I've got one question for you. I give this to every couple that I counsel, okay? So on a scale of -10 to +10, guys, I want you to rate your marriage. Now, don't write anything down yet, because just to give you an idea what it is. Now, -10 is the ugly. We're close to divorce. As a matter of fact, I did this with a couple last week. They were married for 24 years. He was literally at a -9, and she was at a -8. Praise God, he's doing a phenomenal work in them, and they're not anywhere near that now, but that's what they were when they came in. So -10 would be the big D. +10, it's funny, we had the question last night. +10 is I always say -10 is divorce, +10 is the Notebook. Now, I might change that to Tarzan now, right? Because it depends. Now, look, if you guys like doing the Tarzan thing, you guys are into role playing. Hey, that's between you and the Lord, right? To each his own. Whatever is permissible to both is permissible, just as long as obviously, some people are weird. Just as long as guys, you are Tarzan. Anyway. So today's culture, you never know, right? So if -10 was the big D and +10 was the Notebook or Tarzan, and 0 is not like, it's not dead. It's kind of neutral. It's like nothing really bad is happening in our marriage, but nothing really powerful is happening either. So you have the kind of the markers. How would you rate your marriage? Now, automatically, I'm kind of setting you poor gentlemen up, but know this, that guys are the thermostat in the relationship, and women are the thermometer. Guys try to set the temperature for the relationship, and women tell you how hot or cold it is, right? So rate your marriage from -10 to +10. Now, honestly, be honest. Now, we're having fun, and we all want that +10, but you got to be honest, because your wife will be honest, because you guys will have a discussion just on this number alone of where would you place your marriage. And you know what? It's okay, because if it's in the negative realm, it means that you know what? We've got some problems, and we've got some things that we have to work on. That's okay. We always go through those seasons, and it's okay to kind of put yourself at -1, 2, 3, or 4, or if you're going to be blatantly obvious, some of you might be at that -7, 8, 9 type of thing, and that's okay, because you're here. And I am, all the marriages that I've worked with, I am beyond convinced that in your hearts, you want the +10, but you've got all these obstacles. You have all these obstacles keeping you from that +10 feeling. So that's what I want to help couples, not just because when couples come in, they're at -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, to get them to 0 would be just phenomenal, but it's not. You can't land at 0. You've got to be at that +10. So rank it, and we're actually in a few minutes. I'm going to try and get through the material, practice some communication techniques in order to kind of help you, because of that process of. I think the number one technique in marriages that you got to start off with is that you can walk away from most conversations and ask the question, do you feel heard by me? And if not, you come back to, it's not about problem solving, it's about, I want, number one, for you to feel heard by me, and that's going. We're going to practice that in a few minutes. So rank it, and we'll begin from there. Now, the glue is what Chris has been talking about. Now, I want to reflect on the fact that, kind of do a theological approach here. Intimacy actually is the reflecting of Trinity intimacy. That the intimacy, this is the way God created it, that when he established mankind on earth, we are literally a microcosm of what he has in heavens. That because we're created in the image of God in so many different ways, and he gave us the authority on earth to mimic or implement and reflect what he and the Trinity shares. Let us make man in our own image. And the ultimate culmination of the reflection of the Trinity is that intimacy that man and wife shares in the marriage covenant. And having that degree of intimacy and working through how do we reflect the beauty that Christ has, that he shares within the Trinity, that we reflect that. That would be another way of labeling what a +10 relationship looks like. That we are that close. Is it possible? Because in the garden, and what he is trying to get us back to now is that degree of intimacy that they share. But I want to quickly state that the path that we take to that intimacy is not going to be culminated in our spouse. Because the relationship that you and I have with our spouses is a reflection of the intimacy that you and I share with Christ himself. So the intimacy begins with the relationship that we have with Jesus Christ. And in my journey, coming out of the ministry, becoming from that's one thing I struggled with is, God is way up there. And even as a pastor, trying to have that intimacy with him and being exposed to different types of theology and different movements, that there's I'll call it the intimacy movement throughout America, that intimacy can be reflected first. And that's the key word that we share with Christ is the intimacy. And how do I gain that relationship first with Christ and then play that out with my wife? So my relationship with my wife, we have some kind of mile markers, or we have some kind of reflective statements or litmus tests, if you will, that we kind of measure our marriage up against in order to make sure that we stay on track. First and foremost, I told her that when we are together, I want our hearts to always long to be with another. Now, that sounds strange unless you're talking about Jesus Christ. Even when I'm with her and we are sharing the best of times, I want my heart to long to be with another, because I know that truly, biblically, that Jesus said people are not going to be given in marriage up in heaven, that we're going to all be, we are the bride of Christ and he is the bridegroom. He is my fiance. And throughout the last several years, I developed this intimacy with him that he is my fiance and I interact with him like he's my fiance. My identity comes from him. And when I think of what does he think of me, because a lot of our issues in marriage come from our own woundedness. Yes, we can create a litany of things by which we have frustrations with our spouse, but unless you can answer the question, are you intimate with your Savior? Are you intimate with your fiance in heaven? Because literally you could put the marriage number line on -10 to +10. You could do another number line, -10 to +10, on the intimacy that you share with your fiance in heaven. You can actually, all of you, men and women, rank what is my degree of intimacy with my Savior in heaven, because you can't be at a 10 level of intimacy with your spouse and not be at a 10 level of intimacy with your Father in heaven, with your fiance in heaven. It's not possible. Even the best marriages, because there's a lot of non-believers that have great relationships with their spouses, but not the degree of intimacy, because Christ is the one that created intimacy. He is the one that understands relationship and roles and servanthood. And once you start mimicking that, then you can begin to play that out. So I always want my wife and I, even when we're together, I want my heart to long to be with another. That if I spend too much time away from my Savior, then my relationship with my wife is going to suffer. Because that's first and foremost. Secondly, here's the litmus test. You ask your spouse, all things considered, because schedules change and you have busy times and all that sort of thing, all things considered, could we be any closer than we are right now? And if the answer is yes to that question, everything stops. And the reason why, I can't emphasize this enough, I'm not trying to set up a Pollyanna type of goal for your marriage. I am telling you emphatically that everything flows from this. Because when God set up that male and female shall be one, everything out of life flows out of that relationship. Now, certainly God has called some people to celibacy. He called the Apostle Paul to celibacy. But in the ultimate form of intimacy, that it starts with the couple reflecting the intimacy that the Trinity shares. That when that intimacy then plays out into your children, you are to teach them intimacy first and foremost with their Savior in heaven. And that intimacy then is going to flow out of their relationship with their spouse. And most of all, when you picture yourselves that the God has put you two together in order to execute the gospel message on earth. He has put you two together to join forces in ministry to execute what it looks like to advance and further the kingdom here on earth. And those marriages that see themselves as that, they take the focus off of themselves and put it into the fact that first and foremost, the quiet moments we share the intimacy with our Father in heaven, and it plays out from there. So asking the question, all things considered, could we be any closer than we are right now? If the answer is yes, everything stops. And all of our energy and effort goes into reconnecting that intimacy. We have a goal literally to outserve each other. I talked to a couple, because I see both believing couples, Christian couples, and non-Christian couples. And when I used that phrase, the husband actually piped up and said, I don't think she buys that. And she goes, no, why? I don't serve him. Why would I serve him? Now, she didn't like the term serve because of that, love, honor, and obey your husband. She had a cultural trigger there. But one of the greatest things I ever did for him was I detailed his car. I didn't just take it to get it detailed. I detailed it myself. I said, right there. The best moment you had was serving your husband. And my wife and I will literally look for dates. I look for ways to outserve her because I always want her. Because once I realize that I am a servant to her, then from that servant, just like Christ served us, that I'm to love her like Christ loved the church and Christ gave his life for her. I'm to outserve her. And the only time we ever fight is when I serve her too much and she feels guilty because I'm serving her too much. She goes, would you go sit down? I'm doing the dishes, right? That's the only time we ever fight. She goes, that's it. I am setting a boundary. If that's a boundary to be set, that's fine with me. Then I feel guilty for going to sit on the couch and watching TV. And finally, protect each other's hearts. Protect each other's hearts. we have gotten so adamant about this that nothing is getting between us. No outside force, no male, no female, no electronic device, nothing on Facebook, MySpace, FacePace, or Instagram, whatever you call it, is getting in the way of my relationship with her. Everything gets put aside. There's a certain time at night, we shut everything down, we go to bed, and we read the scriptures together, we pray, we do the pillow talk thing, and hopefully it turns into more than that, as I always say, but sometimes it doesn't. That's okay. But the path is that everything stops, and we have to connect on the intimacy level. So honestly, if you take this slide and run it through saying, okay, rank ourselves on each of these, how can we get there? And if nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, believe that it's possible. Now, I guess the Spirit's laying on my heart. You need to know something. I'm divorced. And one of the most crushing experiences I've ever been through was how could I be, as a marriage counselor or pastor, go through that? I'm not going to share my story. It was the worst period of my life. God hates divorce, and I hate it as well. And that's why when I counsel couples now going back into marriage counseling, I could be all the more adamant. You never, ever want to take that path. It was, if I can say this, it was hell. The day I told my children, the day we told our children this was happening, it was the worst day of my life. You never want to take that path. And I don't care what lies Satan himself is telling you about your marriage, what Satan is telling you, it is a lie from the pit of hell. Why is that? Because Satan understands the power that is found in the intimacy of a couple, because he understands that it is the microcosm of the Trinity. And his biggest enemy is the intimacy of marriage, because from that flows the conquering of the kingdom over the gates of hell. And I kid you not, that is biblical, that is theological, and from your families. When you train them in order to take on the gates of hell, that is power, and he's scared. So he is going to come after you with everything he has and anything you have. Don't let a friendship with someone of the opposite sex and you calling a platonic relationship get in the way. If your spouse is uncomfortable with it, doesn't mean you never talk to that person again. What it means is you set boundaries, because my marriage is more important than anything on earth. You listen to your spouse when your spouse is jealous, because God is jealous for us, and it's a good jealousy. I beg you, because I can say as adamantly, I know where you are, some of you. I know where you have been, and you know what it's like, the pain that's wreaking on our marriages, and it's hell. So when she and I, because she's divorced as well, that nothing, I am not ever doing this again. It is so painful. And she and I, when we do these acid tests, we're serious. We are deadly serious, and nothing is going to get in the way of this marriage. And God has redeemed, God has restored our children. There's 7 of them between us. They love each other. And Chris gave me a word the other day that God is going to do a supernatural restoration and healing in the rest of my family's heart. Because God is always redeemed, He'll always restore, He'll always bring back. He'll make it, when the bone is broken, the bone is stronger after the break. Beg you, don't compromise. All right. Now, more practical stuff. There's my theology and my rant, okay? More practical stuff. The power of the compliment. Now, notice the E. It's not, there's compliments. You're a wonderful person. That's a compliment. The compliment is what Chris talked about, is the sharing of the opposites attract in the marriage, that the two of you fill each other's gaps, that God has designed you two in order to fill each other's gap. Now, opposites attract all the time. That there's normally in every marriage an extrovert and an introvert. One who's an external processor, and here's where it plays out in a marriage. One who's an external processor and one who's an internal processor. Every single marriage, I see this. You know what? You want to know opposites attract? Let me get really psychobabblish on you. All right, so when we're teenagers, we have lots of insecurity, right? Lots of insecurity. So I, as an extrovert, I'm going to call it not my emotions, I wear my anxieties on my sleeve. So I am naturally attracted to introverts, women that are quiet. My wife is quiet, but here's the key. She is steady. Nothing shakes her nothing shakes her emotionally. I've found things that shake her emotionally, and it's me. Most things. And I'm attracted because she comes across as very confident to me. I got all this anxiety going on inside of me, and she's just steady. Honey, it'll be okay. Oh, I love you. She's the anchor to my balloon, right? I'm the balloon waving in the wind, and she's the anchor. Well, extroverts are naturally attracted to introverts because you introverts seem so confident. And there's the key. Because every human being is trying to defeat the concept of anxiety in their own hearts. And I'm attracted to introverts because you guys just look so steady. Nothing shakes you, man. I mean, you guys need to get off your duff sometimes and get going, but man, nothing shakes you. Well, the introvert looks at the extrovert and say, "Oh, Greg, you're so full of life, and she loves that about me that have so much energy. I'm like a dog, right?" You know, we have a dog named Bentley. He's 8 months old, and he is a spaz, and he just looks at you like, "Hi, I'm stupid," right? And she calls me Bentley. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to take that as a compliment or criticism. But we attract because we fill each other's. Now, but here's where it plays out in the communication process. Blah, 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 blah. I am an external processor. And when she's upset, she has to withdraw and think about it because introverts are internal processors. Well, when she withdraws from me, I take that as rejection. I'm like, don't be mad, don't be mad. Don't be mad, don't be mad. And then when I get intense, she takes that as an attack, right? So I tell couples, okay, so you want him to calm down, so you withdraw to get him to calm down. How's that working for you? Dr. Phil says, right? And I say to her, so you want him to calm down, and then I say to him, you want her to engage, so you get louder. How's that working for you? Or just the opposite. Sometimes the guys are the introverts, and the girls, I mean, seriously, that's even tougher. I'll kid you not. Right, in our culture, because when the guy's the introvert, she starts ramping up because, women, you are the thermometers, and you will raise the siren. Our relationship needs work. Our relationship needs work. And the guy's going, what'd I do wrong? Just back off, right? How can I fix this? So if the guy's the introvert, she'll get all energetic on him, and he'll go, okay, I can't handle this intensity. I'm feeling attacked, so he'll withdraw. Oh my gosh, and she's going, you don't love me. What are you doing? You're not engaging, so she ramps it up all the more, and he runs away all the more. So it depends on who you are. Sometimes guys are the introverts or extroverts or vice versa. But the opposites attract, but that's the very thing. But here's how you go after it. Trust their motives. Do not psychoanalyze your partner. I have a PhD in counseling, guys. I have a PhD. Oh, Chris, thank you. Completely side note. Calling me Dr. Love, right? I said, honey, forget everybody else call me that. I want you to call me that. Chris prophetically gave you a new title for your husband. That was a prophetic word, baby. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Side note. And I said it publicly, so now she's committed, all right? So I don't even know where I was. All right, trust motives. So I have couples saying, this is why you did it. By the Spirit of God, I say to you, believe that your spouse wants a positive 10 marriage. They might have like bricks, they might have boundaries, they might have wounds, they might have frustration and anger. When they're alone with Jesus and all of those defensive mechanisms are taken away, they want a positive relationship. Seriously, this is going to sound crazy. They might not even know it because there's so many wounds. The way they look at themselves. They don't see themselves the way God sees them. God calls us saints, to the saints who are in Ephesus, to the saints who are in Rome. He doesn't say to the sinners who are in Rome, you are a sinner prior to Christ. After Christ, you are a saint. That's how he sees you. He wants to get us back to the garden where there is this deep relationship. That's how he sees you. And you believing a lie, because Satan's two greatest lies goes after us. Who are you? Who do you think you are? And who do you think your dad is? He attacked Jesus with that in the garden. He attacks us with that. And he attacks you because he gets you to believe that you are not worth anything. And from those wounds, you take it out because you can't stand the pain anymore. You take it out on your spouse. You are a saint. But trust in the heart of hearts that your spouse wants a positive relationship. So what you need techniques to be able to get through those barriers to engage. But again, I'm going to keep looping back. You have to rate yourself. What is your intimacy like with the Savior? And you have to be honest, saying, you know what? I have to take ownership of this. I take ownership of this. So here's a question before we get to the technique that I want you to practice. I use this all the time with couples as well, like the negative 10 to positive 10. Question. If you went to sleep tonight and Tinkerbell flew into your room and sprinkled magical dust on you, and instead of the ability to fly, you woke up tomorrow morning and your marriage was perfect, what would be different about you? So I have couples come in, and I almost like, okay, what would be different about you? And I've actually had couples like lunge forward to get ready to tell them how they're frustrated with their spouse, because it's right there on the tip of their tongue. They can lay out a list of what's wrong, how they want their spouse to change. But it's so amazing when I say, what would be different about you? They pause for 10 minutes.
Well, I've never thought about that before.
So I'm going to give you a technique by which you're going to reflect on that, but I want you to start by answering that question. Honey, if our marriage was perfect tomorrow, this is what would be different about me. And you can't talk about anything else other than you. Okay? Trust their motives. Number 2, schedule the minimum. Okay, what's that mean? So what happens in relationship, like relationship with our kids, relationship with our spouses, how much relationship is enough relationship, right? How much is enough? It's endless, right? I mean, you could never, there's a bottomless pit of relationship. So what happens with spouses is they're always looking like when they're feeling tender and they want to spend time with their spouse is busy doing something else, or I can't right now, they're on Facebook, whatever the case is, and the spouse gets offended because you're trying to do relationship spontaneously, or let me say it this way, you're trying to fill the relational hole spontaneously. I'm all about spontaneity, but don't fill the relational hole. Schedule it. I literally say, okay, I want you guys, let's say on a Sunday night, I want you to get out your calendars, get out the finances. I want you to walk through proms on Sunday night. That's normally a good time. Walk through the week, walk through the schedule of the week, and I want you to schedule a date night, because what's the issue? You get to date night, you haven't talked all week, so what's the first thing that comes up? Problems, kills date night. Nope. No more. No more of that. So you're going to schedule a logistics night, and then you're going to schedule a date night, and when you get to date night, the only thing you do is I want you to act as weird as you possibly can and have fun with each other. Because isn't it amazing that you and your spouse met? You have the two circles. The two circles meet, right? You kind of look at each other, wink, wink, that sort of thing. And then you start dating. And it's like the Dow Jones Industrial Average on a good year, right? It just keeps going up and there's a fight, okay? And then you go up until the point of right? You get married. And then suddenly you kind of Dow Jones in a bad year until the stock market crash. Or it starts to slowly fade away and it flatlines. The issue is you stopped doing all the things that led to marriage. You don't date anymore. You don't look for ways to serve each other anymore. You go into, we're going to start building our lives now. We're in a business partnership, right? We're going to be successful, and we're going to retire, we're going to love each other. Right? So you don't start doing all those things. So what you have to do is you have to schedule the minimum. So you have a logistics night, you have a date night, and then you have a daily coming together. Okay, a coming together to talk about the day, but you have a daily coming together to meet face-to-face with your fiancé in heaven. So again, 9:30-ish, we finish watching our shows, whatever the case is, and we stop that, and then we go to bed, and we have a Bible reading schedule. It takes about 5-10 minutes. We're going to read through the Bible in a year, and we put that up, and there might be something marvelous to talk about. We're going through Job right now, and it's really hard to, okay, what's he saying? It's like, yeah, he's upset. I get it, okay? It's hard to pull something out. That's okay. Then we pray together, we address the Father, and then we have pillow talk. So it's a daily come together to talk about the day, daily come together to meet the Lord face to face. That's the minimum. Schedule the minimum. And then when it comes to spontaneous times, like, hey, what do you want to do? There's no offense if your spouse wants to do something else. Hey, I've got to work on the lawn, or I've got to do this. That's okay, babe, because we're already filled. How much do you have to schedule in order for your relationship to flourish? Whatever that looks like in your home, schedule it. Then you can be spontaneous all day long. There are always multiple goals. You have the goal of being successful in your career. Absolutely. You have the goal of raising your kids. You have the goal of, taking care of the house and the lawn and all that. But most importantly, you have the goal of establishing intimacy within your marriage that reflects the Trinity. Are you getting my point here? Always comes back down to that. Now, some couples, I put up roommates, business partners, and lovers, okay? Had a couple the other day that they're upset. They say, okay, let's talk about some problems. She goes, I can't stand it. It makes me so sick when he leaves his workout clothes on the washer. I'm like, why are we talking about this? That's underneath the roommate category. And what we do is we turn roommate as if it's an attack on our identity and our relationship as lovers. Who cares? Your roommates. Figure it out. Yes, your clothes stink. Take care of them. Don't deepen the meaning of why didn't they take care of their clothes? They don't love me. Whatever. They're pigs. That's it. All right? That's as deep as it gets. Right? That's roommate level. Then you got business partner level that we're going to be successful in life. We have to save up for, there's things you just got to attend to. But keep the lover conversations at the lover conversations. I trust your motives. I know you want the absolute best for us. And so anything you do that ticks me off, I'm going to keep it at roommate level. Yeah, I think you're an absolute pig, can't stand it, okay? But I love you, right? Keep the issues where they need to be. Number 3, does my spouse, here we get into the conversations, does my spouse feel heard by me? It's amazing. I took a stint. I have a bachelor's in organizational leadership, and I did my dissertation for my PhD on emotional intelligence as it relates to the corporate world, basically. And for a few years, I traveled the country doing leadership seminars and coaching teams and executives. And, when I ask people the question, because you're all in the workplace, who's the best boss you've ever had and who's the worst boss you've ever had? Okay? So start thinking about that. Not to trigger you for, Monday, but it always comes down to 2 things. The worst boss I've ever had are ones that never listen to a word I say. They just completely ignore what I said. And secondly, the boss wasn't teachable. They just didn't listen, right? I know I was right, but they didn't grow. They didn't pursue getting better. The best bosses are just the opposite. It's like when I meet with my boss, it's like I'm the only person in the room. They get me. They care about me. And secondly, my boss looks for ways to improve. I asked my wife, and the same thing happens. We're talking about human relationships, people. You do the same thing with your spouse. I want her to say yes to one question. Honey, do you feel heard and understood by me? Do I get you? Ask that one. Do I get you? If it's no, we have work to do. And secondly, it's like, honey, if I was perfect tomorrow, what would be different? Ask your kids that question. If I was a perfect dad tomorrow, if I was a better dad tomorrow, how can I be different? If I was a better mom tomorrow, how can I be different? Be proactively teachable. So there's 3 techniques I want to give you. Instant clarification, instant validation, and couples dialogue. Couples dialogue is the more meatier one, but let's get through the top 2. Instant clarification. What happens is, that when your spouse does or says something and your furnace kicks on. You know that feeling? That, right? The furnace kicks on. And you're saying, I can't believe she or he just said that. When your furnace kicks on, ball's in your court, your responsibility. When your furnace kicks on, I want you to say, this is how I'm receiving you right now. I think you're talking to me like I'm the biggest piece of dirt on earth. 99% of the time, your spouse is going to say, oh my gosh, no. See, it more has to do with your triggers, has more to do with your wounds, has more to do with your emotions, and frankly, has more to do with how you view yourself than your spouse views you. And again, you have that whole extrovert, introvert thing, and this is how I'm receiving you right now. And 90% of the time, it's going to be not at all. There are times when it says, well, it's not that intense, but yeah, I don't like you right now. Rarely it's like, yeah, you are the biggest piece of dirt on earth right now. Sometimes it is that. Most of the time, it's no, not at all. Just start, whenever your furnace kicks on, just say, this is how I'm receiving you right now. Can you clarify? Instant. Because what happens, folks, when you don't clarify, you hang on to it, and it sits there and boils over, and it sits like this soot inside of you. And then she does something, an hour later, then you explode, and she's going, whoa! And then you get this huge fight, and it all came from the fact you completely misunderstood her on some nonverbal look. Brilliant, right? Brilliant. Nonverbal look she did yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Instant clarification. Instant validation. You ever have it when 2 people start arguing, they start ramping up the intensity and energy, right? It starts ramping up. And the reason why is we start increasing our anger is because we falsely believe that the louder I get, I can drive my truth, because I'm holding on to the truth. I can drive my truth home and break through all of her woundedness and defensive mechanisms, and when it hits her heart, but the louder I scream, it's going to hit her heart, it's going to explode with an epiphany of light, and she's going to go, oh. So the louder I get, the more intense I get, she's going to get it, right? Bravo. Brilliant. So if your spouse starts getting intense, or if they start withdrawing, use this one. Okay, before we go any further, this is where you are absolutely right and where I'm absolutely wrong. You're right in the fact that I don't spend enough time with you. You're right in the fact that I put other things like sports before you. You are right in the fact that I need to engage the kids more and watch them fall over. And you know, why are you defending the fact that you don't need to do that when you know you do need to do that? Instantly validate, and you'll see your spouse decrease in the intensity. Okay? So again, I'm giving you the band. These are super easy to understand, very difficult to apply. Because you guys are going to do it this afternoon, and it's like, oh, those techniques don't work. I tell couples, I kid you, I tell every couple, first session, I say, before we go any further, let me just get this out of the way. I promise you, I will give you every technique in order to have a successful marriage. 15 sessions from now, you're going to come in. I'm going to say, how'd your week go? It was terrible. Question number 1, did you apply what I gave you? No. Okay, next question, all right? If you had a successful week, did you apply what I gave you? Yeah, it was wonderful. We understood each other. We feel heard. So guaranteed, hard to apply, but they work. Finally, this one's a little bit more detailed, but this is where we come back to -10 to +10. And you're going to answer the question, if everything was perfect about our marriage tomorrow, what would be different about you? Okay, so in the few minutes that remain, it's 10 to 12. We're going to stop at 12, but I want you to practice this. And you might have to talk softly, right? Because what happens in couples dialogue? So what do we do? Our spouse lays out a paragraph to us, right? Blah, 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 blah. You know, it sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 right? And what you do is you're listening to them, and you're picking out the words or phrases that just ticked you off the most. The furnace kicked on, right? My mother, what about your mother, right? Or I scratch it because it itches, right? Whatever it is. I don't know if that was appropriate for a church, but. All right? So what I want you to do is I want you to, so the person gets the case, and either one of you can begin on this. I want you to state 3 to 5 sentences. And it'll be easy because normally what happens if you're upset about something, you go to your spouse and say, I want to do couples dialogue, okay? And you only get 3 to 5 sentences to state your case. Because what we do is we bring up not only that topic, but the last 27 years, right? And their family of origin, how screwed up their family is, and you just want to bring it all in and present it to them, right? And then they get lost. So you get 3 to 5 sentences to present your case. Now, for extroverts, it limits you, which is good. Shh. For introverts, it draws you out. So 3 to 5 sentences. So you say 3 to 5 sentences, and then your spouse, you cannot give your opinion, especially with the but. You can only, so what you're saying is this. Now, you kind of repeat, you know the story, you've done this before, but I want to go deeper. So you say, so what you're saying is, it's just a reflective statement, but I want you not only to state what the spouse said, but what are they experiencing? What are they really trying to say? And you can get good at this, but it's hard, but this is the most powerful. Guys, I tell every guy, this is your silver bullet technique. Because what do we do as guys? We fix it, right? Try and fix it. I don't want you to fix it. She doesn't want you to fix it. What does she want from you guys? To feel heard. That's your goal. Don't worry about problem solving. You want to ask your wife, and any given, this is your test, guys. And if the answer is no, give you a bunch of litmus tests. But if you can say to your wife, do you feel heard by me? Do you feel that I get you? If not, then let's keep going. Let's practice. I want to restate what you're experiencing. So what you're saying or what you're experiencing is that you're frustrated because I don't do these things, I do these things, I put other things before you, and you so desperately want us to be close like we were before, but you're just wanting us to get back to that point where we have the intimacy that was talked about at the marriage conference. Am I getting it? End with that every time. Am I getting it? Now, what happens is you get the person says 3 to 5 sentences to you. You're saying, so you're frustrated because I'm such a jerk. Am I getting it? Right? No. I mean, you're right, but no. Because you can't just give a one-sentence flip. So what you're saying is you're upset because your mom doesn't like me, right? Am I getting it? No, that's not feeling heard at all. Be sincere and intimate. Am I getting it? When your spouse says this, oh my gosh, yes, that's your goal. If they pause, they go, yeah, you didn't get it, because they don't feel heard. And it's not that you did bad, because couples have to practice this, But when they go, and if they pause at all, that means you didn't get it. Because again, you want the response. You know you nailed it when, oh my gosh, yes. Then and only then can you give your 3 to 5 sentences back to reply. Until you get the yes, you've got it, you can't say it, you can't give one opinion. So then your husband does his 3 to 5 sentences, and lady, you must do the same thing back. And it gets back to, because then it gets to this point of, okay, we got it, so what now? Then you start problem solving. But the goal of this technique is to feel heard, okay? All right, so we got about 8 minutes. So I want you guys to kind of separate from the other people. If you can, eavesdrop, because it'd be probably entertaining. But try and stay focused on your spouse, all right? I think that's, all right? So what I want you to do is talk about 3 to 5 sentences. And again, this is easy. It's not going to create a fight because you're talking about your own issues. The couple's dialogue is meant for when you want to bring up an issue that you want your spouse to address. So this is the easy way of doing it so we don't have huge fights here and a big brawl, okay? So talk to your spouse, answering the question. All right, 3 to 5 sentences. If our marriage was perfect tomorrow, this is what would be different about me. And I'll wrap us up at the end, okay? So if you got it, practice, okay? Go for it. All right, to wrap up, and we'll be done. I'll pray over you guys. Again, coming back to this, when we're together, our hearts always long to be with another. That is Jesus Christ. Intimacy there begins first there. All things considered, could we be any closer than we are right now? If the answer is yes, everything stops. Number 3, the goal is to outserve each other. And number 4 is to protect each other's hearts at all costs, okay? Thank you for the opportunity. I want to pray over you guys, and then obviously I brought my brother back up, and we'll close it out. So let's pray. Father God, I thank you so much for the way you created us, the way you designed us, and you have the answer for us to live a healthy, beautiful, empowered life through you. I do pray against the attacks of the demonic world that just wants to rip us apart in our marriages, and I pray for protection over every single marriage in this home, in this place right now, and I ask that you will protect them. Give them that opening of grace that they can address these issues. They can overlook the hurt. They can realize they're being attacked and come to you, run to the feet of Jesus Christ and receive power and grace and help from him and being filled with the Holy Spirit. We love you and we want to seek and serve you. That is our heart. Just help us to do so because we are weak people. We praise you, and all of God's people said, amen. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.